Hello everyone and welcome back to another Flutter video. In last video we checked out product flavors in Android. Today we will see its counterpart for iOS apps, which is iOS schemes. So let's get started. Now in last video we saw how product flavors work with Android. Today we will work with the iOS folder, and for that we will have to open Xcode. So you can go ahead and open the iOS folder inside Xcode. You just have to click on open and then go ahead in your project and click on the iOS folder and click on open. So this is our project. Currently we have debug, release and profile as configurations. So first of all we will need to create these configurations for our product flavors that we are going to use, which is dev and prod. So for that you have to click on this plus icon. First you have to click on this runner, then this screen will appear, and then you have to click on the plus icon and then duplicate debug. Similarly we'll duplicate release and duplicate profile configuration. Now for each of these we are going to create a dev and prod version. So release dev, similarly profile dev. Now the existing debug, release and profile configurations, we can rename them as debug prod, release prod and profile prod. So debug is basically when you are running the app, release is when you are using archive to use the release configuration, and profile is when you are targeting a specific device. So here you can see that we have run, test, profile, analyze, and we'll see how these things work. First we need to edit the configurations. So this will be debug prod, similarly this will be release prod, this will be profile prod. Now the documentation to all these steps can be found on the official Apple documentation page inside the customize the build schemes for a project, and you will get a very detailed text for why we are doing these things. You can study these things in detail if you want. Now here as we can see that we don't have any scheme right now. So what we'll do is we'll create a new scheme and we'll name it dev, and then we'll create one more scheme and we'll name it prod, and the target will be runner because our target is runner. Okay, and let's go ahead and see manage schemes. Now here we have a default runner scheme which was already running, and we have created two more schemes, dev and prod, so we don't need to actually use this runner scheme anymore, so we'll delete it. Now we'll just double click on dev and start the configuration. So for build we are going to use target runner for the dev configuration. For running we will use debug dev, and for testing, similarly for testing we are going to use debug dev. For profiling also we will use profile dev. For analyzing we will use debug dev. For archiving we will use release dev. For profiling also we are going to use release dev. Now this is the configuration that you need to define to get your schemes to work. So let's check it once again. For build, we are going to use the target runner. For running our build in debug mode, we'll use the debug dev configuration. Similarly, for testing also we will use the debug dev. For profiling we will use the release dev. I'm setting all these things to dev because we are inside the dev scheme. Similarly, for analyzing also we'll use debug dev, and for archiving, that means when you are going to release your app to test flight or app store, we'll use the release configuration. We can close this, and now we will just do the same thing for prod. So for prod, I think you don't need to change anything because it will already be set to the prod version of each profiles. So for prod, we'll just check it once again. For testing, we are using debug prod. For profiling, we are using release prod. Similarly, for analyzing, we are using debug prod, and for archiving, we are using release prod. So yeah, this is correct. Now let's go ahead and see our Flutter Flavors app with two configurations. So we'll just run flutter run -t. We'll run a main dev.dart configuration. So this should give error actually because we are not defining the scheme in this command. Now for that we'll need to specify the flavor option. So let's go ahead and specify the flavor option, and this will be, since we are running main dev.dart, we will use the flavor dev. Now similarly for prod, we are going to use main prod, and then we will define the flavor as prod. Now we'll see that we will get two apps here. Okay, we got some error. So the error says that requested but did not find extension point with identifier. So remember that we added a .dev to our bundle ID with the dev configuration when we were building for Android. So we can see that the prod build has run successfully because we did not change the bundle identifier. It was same as the original one. So for solving this, we'll go to Xcode and then we'll click on runner. Now we will go inside target, and then we will change the extension to .dev for all the dev configuration. So for debug dev, I'm going to append .dev here. Similarly for release, and similarly for prod profile. Sorry. Now if we run our app, it should open the dev app successfully. Let's just wait and see. Now as you can see, our development app is also running alongside our production app. So what is the issue here? The issue will be regarding the name, because we did not change the bundle name. So we have two apps here with the same name, Flutter Flavors and Flutter Flavors. So how are we going to identify like which one is our dev? We will have to open it every time to see which is dev configuration and which is running on prod configuration. So let's fix this, and for that we'll again go to runner and inside target, just like we changed the bundle ID for each of the configuration, we are going to change the display name for each of the configuration. So this display name comes from the info.plist file, and which is the bundle name. So let's just change it, and we'll store it in a variable, and we will name it product display name. Now how are we going to define the values of this variable? So for that we'll go in build settings, and here we'll click on this plus and add a user defined setting, and here we'll just paste the variable name, and now we will define it for each of the configuration. So for development I'm going to use flavors dev. That's it. Now let's just copy this to all the dev configurations. Similarly for release dev, and now for prod we'll just let it be Flutter flavors. We'll just copy it for profile prod and also for release prod. So now we have our configuration set, and now if we kill our apps and then rerun it, similarly for the production one, we'll see that the names will appear here. So we have our Flutter flavors prod app here, and we have our dev app also running. Okay, so looks like we messed up something. So let's go back and check if we did it right or not, because the display name here still shows Flutter flavors. We'll go again to our info.plist file, and then we'll search for the display name. Okay, so we changed the bundle name, but we had to change the bundle display name. So I'll just change it back and use the variable here. Now this will automatically change. Okay, so let's rerun the apps again. The prod one will remain same, so that does not matter. The main thing is for the development one. So as we can see that the production build is ready, and also the development build. So let's check again. Now here we can see that the production app has Flutter flavors name, and the development app has flavors dev name. So this is how you configure your environments using iOS schemes on iOS apps. That's it for today's video. We'll see you in the next videos.